You are listening to Vitruvian Man with Jesse and Josh.
Welcome back to Season 2 of Vitruvian Man. As usual, I'm joined by Josh.
Holy crap, it's been a long time, homie.
It's been a while. I got a cold and then a flu. Got a little sick. It's been crazy, but we tried to do this a couple weeks ago, but it was my fault. We couldn't do it, so.
Shit happens.
Good that you're here.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
So it's a new year, and we lost David Lynch.
So fucking bummed.
We had just done recently a podcast about Blue Velvet through the lens of what we were talking about, but obviously one of our favorite artists.
You know what's insane? I just, like a couple days ago, found out how he died, and that sucks even more.
He was a smoker?
Emphysema.
Or was it that? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Emphysema.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad I quit when I did.
It's no joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were talking about this, like, people who aren't into art films will watch a movie like Blue Velvet or Mulholland Drive and they'll go, snobbery. This is some bullshit.
I don't understand.
Well, and yeah, I don't understand means I feel bad, which
right.
means I am going to call this shit because I don't understand it. And it's like, I would just say, watch 5 minutes of David Lynch on an interview. He is about as personable and funny.
He's fucking hilarious.
As you'll ever see. He doesn't talk with these big polysyllabic words. He's just a guy.
Yeah, he's just some dude.
He's a great artist. But I don't know if we were talking about this a minute ago, but like that Lynch wasn't willing to explain what was happening in his films is so fucking awesome.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Mulholland Drive specifically, and on the DVD they give you 10 hints on how to figure it out, but he wouldn't explain it. He never would explain it. But that one, this is pretty out there. So I'll give you some fucking tips.
There's the Movies That Made Me is a podcast with Joe Dante and a screenwriter. The screenwriter wrote History of Violence, but really good. Joe Dante's just an entertaining, great director, but he's a good talker too. And they did a retrospective on Lynch. So several of the directors that were on the show talking about Lynch, they just took all the clips. And one director, he's mostly a documentarian, and he would make a film, show it, and then someone in the audience would ask him to explain it to them. And he goes, he wasn't being a dick. He's like, I made this documentary. You just saw it. You know, I can't, it's there. The explanation is there.
Yeah, the whole thing, I just explained it.
And I don't want to, quite frankly, if there's any subtext, I don't want to explain that to you because that's a little like treasure hunt when you understand the subtext.
That's what art is, right? I mean, art is not supposed to be easy.
Right.
It can be, but it's not supposed to be.
I mean, there are artists like Basquiat where I wouldn't want it on my wall, but those paintings are telling a story.
Yeah.
Probably of pain and suffering. But I mean, like, you know, again, interesting artistic statements that we can all draw our own conclusions about.
And that's the biggest thing, drawing your own conclusion.
Right.
You know, I mean, and this is, I think, we talked about postmodernist kind of interpretation of things and how if you explain it, then you take away the ability to interpret it on your own. And that's insulting because art is an interactive thing. It's not just the person putting down the art. It's the person looking at the art or listening to it or watching it or whatever. And I think that takes away agency when you explain it or make it stupid to make it easily understood.
Well, and the joy of discovery.
Yeah. The
fact that you hear music and feel different things than I do is the same thing. It's your interpretation, albeit emotional, of what's happening.
Sure.
And, you know, any movie that tells me how to think, it's already lost as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Even if I agree, I'm a super liberal, commie, pinko. If a movie has that agenda and is like up in my face the entire time,
bonking,
I'm dead. I'm bored to death.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I don't give a fuck.
I already agree with all that
propaganda
shit.
At that point.
And it's pandering.
Yeah, propaganda, pandering. It's not art,
right?
In a real sense.
I actually liked Dallas Buyers Club. I think that they actually did a decent job.
I never saw it.
Well, actually, I know McConaughey's thought of it as a joke in some ways, but I liked him and Jared Leto in that movie, and I thought they really did personalize the struggle of these two characters in a way that didn't feel preachy. It felt like these were real people who were struggling through their lives.
Yeah.
So isn't this cross-dresser a sad life, or this trans person, or whatever term you want to use. You know, it wasn't saying you should like these people. They're good. They have rights. None of that.
They're complicated.
It was just two
people.
characters.
Yeah.
Yes. So
yeah.
On to other things.
All right.
So Yeah, season 2 is all about kind of looking deep into the power structure behind Trump, specifically some of the, let's say, intelligence, not intelligence, but the thought that goes behind this agenda that they're pushing right now.
The philosophies that they're trying to drum up in order to rationalize and legitimize their power grab.
So you and I will alternate every week on a new character. Tell me who we're talking about today.
Oh man, this motherfucker. Okay, so his name is Curtis Yarvin.
Yeah.
He's also, he blogged and lurked on the internet in the 90s under the name Mencius Moldbug.
Okay. I'm afraid to ask what that is. What is
well,
that?
So Mencius was a Confucian philosopher who traveled China basically for 40 years, offering counsel to rulers on how to reform their kingdoms at the time.
So far, so good. I mean, if it's actually good advice.
Well, you see how he perceives himself, right?
Oh, he's not just a kingmaker; he's a soothsayer.
He's the one that's going to go around and make your ruling better in whatever way. So that's his idea,
right?
And Moldbug, I don't. I'm not sure exactly where that came from, but the idea behind it is that it was a play on the words gold bug. So
you mean from Richard Scarry?
No.
Richard Scarry books had a gold bug.
No, I mean, unless it was like symbolic of being against the fiat currency and the gold and wanting the gold standard to come back.
Okay,
that's kind of where we're going.
I'll nod and pretend like I'm as versed in that as you are.
Well, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's, I mean, Wizard of Oz was about that as well.
Okay,
but yeah, the gold standard. These
sound like originalists to me, or a federalist.
They are definitely in the same boat,
right?
Although what you're looking at here is accelerationist monarchists, is what they would call themselves now.
So they don't even pretend that they're not trying to prop up a monarchy.
No, they think that democracy has failed and that it needs to be replaced by a strongman.
The funny thing is, in some ways, it has.
Well, this is what they've gunned for. This is the first step, right? Because I mean, I might be getting ahead of myself, but he's definitely like the philosophy that he is putting forth, like him and Nick Lance, and we'll probably end up doing a thing with Nick, have this idea of the dark enlightenment and the neo-reactionary movement, right?
Dark enlightenment?
Right. So basically it's the idea that the enlightenment's over and now we need to go back to a strongman government. I'm convinced that these people all have fucking brain damage and daddy issues, right? Because every one of all these people out there now calling Trump daddy, like,
that's not a mistake.
No, that's fully intentional. Daddy's home.
Did you see Mel Gibson did that the other day?
Yes, dude.
So famous anti-Semite piece of shit, Mel Gibson. Oh, that's right. He's an actor too. Famous actor, Mel Gibson said the other day that it feels like daddy's back, cracking the whip.
Yeah. The tradcath. All these fucking asshats.
When Mel Gibson is lauding you as a good thing, run away.
Yeah, you need to sit down and make some fucking hard choices.
Jesus. Now you listened to a lot of video of this guy, and you said he sounded just like
Danny McBride.
Okay, I mean, it was Danny McBride.
It was fucking. There was a point where I'm like, I hope to God they make a movie about this asshole and Danny McBride plays it. Oh my God, it'd be so good.
So he has that kind of Southern affect.
It's not Southern. It's just the way his voice sounds.
Oh, his cadence.
Yeah, and the timbre and all that. It's just listen. I think I sent you because there's a recent interview New York Times did with him, and
I will definitely check that out.
Yeah, it's worth listening to.
Okay.
It's worth listening to.
So he started out trolling, or at least on the internet, offering advice to...
Let me give a little personal background. So he was born in 1973. His dad was a diplomat. He represented, America as a diplomat.
Uh-huh.
And his grandparents were Jewish communists, which he will never fucking tire of telling you.
That's funny. I mean, conservative Jews are as bad as anybody. Oh, that's not a good thing.
Just because you're Jewish doesn't mean you're a good person.
Conservative Jews can be pieces of shit too. Let's be honest. So that's not a feather in his cap.
No. And he is actually a very well-read and intelligent person.
Okay.
And
So he, in some ways, he is a serious person, unlike some of these people.
I would not call him serious because of just you'll see kind of where I go with his philosophy and what he's doing with it. But in 1985, he entered the Johns Hopkins longitudinal study of mathematically precocious youth. So he was like very, very on it. Attended Brown 88 to 92, got his BA. I think that he got it in computer science. I'm not sure though. The BA I couldn't find. Went to continued to a PhD program in computer science at Berkeley. But after a year and a half, he dropped out. So that was the extent of his
got the BA,
schooling.
Was attempting maybe a master's or a PhD. And
he was going straight for a PhD.
Okay.
And I think he would have done it, but it was during the 90s. So he ended up.
So what diverted his attention away from school?
Computers.
Okay.
He developed his tech company.
Right.
And put out some stuff. And through the 90s and early 2000s, he, trolled on online chats and kind of dialed in his basic libertarian philosophy at the time. He's more of a libertarian at that time. Uh-huh. Yeah. You know where that leads.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like he, from the tech company, he ended up selling it and he made enough money, not a ton, but he made enough money to not work for a while and read. And that's what he did. And he kind of dialed in his idea.
You said and not read?
No, and not work and just read.
Oh, okay.
I guess it was like a year or so was kind of what I got from it. Took a sabbatical.
So a voracious reader.
Reads a lot. And he will drop names, and listening to him is one of the most infuriating fucking things, dude, because he will. Yeah, I listen to.
Is it Jordan Peterson like, where he's saying a lot of words that don't really add up to a lot, or like how would you describe him?
There is that. There is some of that, but he will. He's talking to like actual intelligent people, and he will say things like, he'll drop an author's name. He's all, "Have you heard of him?" And it like not only does it disrupt the flow of him answering the question. He never answers fucking questions. He never answers a fucking question. It is fucking infuriating. It's so hard to pin down what he actually says because he just goes on these fucking tangents for, minutes.
That does sound like Peterson. So does he, you said he dropped these authors' name to sound smart?
But also kind of as a dig. Oh, you've never heard of this guy? Right. Oh, you should really check him out. Oh, you've heard of him? Oh, but have you read this book? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just pap. I mean, and really, I can't tell if that is truly the way he's doing it, or if it's a method of having a conversation to divert from the actual question.
Okay.
Because it's really difficult to pin him down, and he's slippery as a motherfucker.
Okay.
And if you have him on two different programs, like if you got him on, a podcast with people that are kind of like-minded, he's a lot different than he is with people that he has to convince.
So he's a bit of a chameleon. So and to contrast him with Christopher Hitchens, that guy would drop all kinds of names, not as a question or as a dig. He would just quote someone, and it was always meant to further his point. It was never a gotcha moment where it's like, oh, you haven't heard of this guy.
No,
poor you.
It's not like that.
No.
Because, as, Hitchens would say, as whoever said, and he'd
move on,
do the thing.
The point wasn't dropping names. The point was to make a statement that he wanted to make.
But this motherfucker, there was times I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. And he would be speaking with an English interviewer. And he'd say just like this, the most ridiculous. Well, you know about English history, right?
Really?
Oh my God, dude.
That's pretty rude.
Oh my God. This is this guy.
Yeah.
This is this guy. And so, that's his basic background. And it looks, so through the 2000s, from 2007 to 2013, he did a blog called, let me get this right. So 2007, 2013, he was focusing on his platform, Urbit.
Ribbit?
Urbit, and I'm not.
Sounds like Ribbit.
I actually
Yeah.
went on, and it's the parent company is called Tlon, and I'm unclear exactly what you're supposed to do with it, but it seems like it's a very customizable social media platform.
Okay. Meant to be for right wingers or for anybody?
I mean, he would say anybody, but generally right wingers are on there, and people that have privacy concerns.
So it's like a firewall, or it's a some kind of
no. It's an
you
actual
said private. Oh, you mean not using their
privacy.
real names?
Privacy.
Okay.
So it's people can't hack into it. There's a lot of
So it's secure.
names associated.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff is
So people can see all the racist, horrible shit they want to, and no one will figure it out.
Yeah, like Vote, if you remember that fucking nightmare.
Yes.
So from 2016 or no, it's 2007. So he did a blog called Unqualified Reservations, which he completed in 2016. And that basically, he ended it because he said that it had completed its mission. And that's where he really started posting his philosophy,
right,
and kind of trying to get it out there. Now, I think that Peter Thiel invested in Tlon, and I think that was around 2001 or 2001.
Right.
Kind of hard to find.
Peter Thiel being another Trump money guy. Or I was just trying to put it in context a little bit.
Oh, okay, so yeah. Peter Thiel, Palantir, fucking all that shit.
Another South African, I think, right? Am I saying that right?
South African.
Yeah. No one who speaks South African could be evil.
Fucking Afrikaners.
Yeah.
Around. So I feel like around this time, Thiel saw in him somebody that he could use. I feel like Mencius, or Curtis, pictures himself as Mencius, right? Or gonna have to cut this out. Machiavelli, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like he feels like he's Machiavelli, explaining how to be a better leader and a better person, laying down a philosophy that will help the prince. You know what I mean?
That's pretty lofty way to prop yourself up. Compare yourself to Machiavelli, right? I mean, Machiavelli, one of the more quoted people in history, at least modern history, as far as politics go.
Well, and the thing about Machiavelli is that he wrote The Prince in order to suck up to the Medicis, because he'd been locked in a fucking cave and tortured, in a cave, but in a dungeon and fucking tortured because he crossed him at some point.
So he was a sycophant.
This was writing The Prince and giving it to him was his way to try and get back into the Medicis' good graces.
Okay.
So that's why I think that he thinks of himself as Machiavelli, but he doesn't understand what Machiavelli was really.
Right.
And I think that at this time, Thiel saw him as his philosopher monkey. I feel like he saw a way to harness his philosophy and forward his own agenda.
Right.
Right. And that's what we're seeing right now. I mean, that's with Trump in office. That's what we're seeing.
So it's Thiel's mouthpiece.
But more than that.
Yeah.
More than that. I feel like he is actually, he's laying down the philosophy to legitimize this power grab and to consolidate the government, sell off the commons, consolidate the government, and take it over as a strongman. And that's what they see in Trump.
Okay.
So all these people, you have Nick Land, you have Curtis Yarvin, you have these other philosophers, and this.
That's a very generous term to use on these people, philosophers.
Right? No, because I totally agree.
Yes, philosophy.
No, I totally agree. But they're coming.
They're
up
no
with
Euclid. How about that?
They're laying the philosophical groundwork where they can take this stuff to the courts, which they have stacked, and actually get these things enacted and turn the presidency into a dictatorship.
Although you saw, the good news is ACLU has been fighting this whole time before Trump was even elected. And they did lose a court battle the other day. It was something about deporting naturalized citizens. You saw a judge overturn that.
Yeah. I mean,
so at least there are some decent people left in the world.
But none of these have hit the real courts, right? I mean, the Supreme Court, like they are counting on them to further their agenda.
These next 4 years are going to be very busy.
The next 6 months are going to tell what's going to happen.
Sure. Well, because if they fail several times in court, their agenda is definitely takes a hit.
Right. I mean, all the momentum is the first 100 days. And that's why 2025, Project 2025 had the 100-day agenda.
That's why Trump demanded that the traitors who worked at the FBI for January 6th came forward. At least, right, he's demanding the lists of the FBI agents that worked January 20. It's like, I mean, think of how chilling that is.
Yeah.
Law enforcement officers that were involved with January 6th are being prosecuted.
Totally.
They're being vilified for being police officer, or essentially enforcing the law.
So Curtis Yarvin is the one that's laying the groundwork for these philosophical cases,
right?
And they're basing their law around that. I think there's going to be a real issue because the monarchists, the dark enlightenment neo-reactionary motherfuckers have a different agenda than Project 2025 people.
Sure,
right? But they're all kind of in cahoots right now. But there's going to be a fucking divide that's really going to hamper them.
And if you recall, I think it was Arizona and Georgia, Republican officials stopped Trump. I think it was both Georgia and Arizona.
That's not going to happen again.
No, I just mean there are a certain amount of pieces of shit that are going to go along with this, including judges. I guess I'm buoyed only a little bit by the fact that once in a while, Republican officials go, no, this is insane. I'm not doing this. You don't think so?
It's all done.
Okay.
That's done.
All right.
Like that.
So they've already steamrolled through any kind of decency in the party that would have helped it.
Who's left?
Prevent this? Yeah.
I mean, they're all out. And they're being threatened with fucking, trade. I mean, it's done. Yeah. So unless the courts actually fucking stop them, the Republicans aren't going to. I mean, you see that in the current votes for his appointees. Like all these people talk a big fucking game about RFK's fucking brainworm and shit like that,
right.
and then they vote him in.
So to summarize what you're saying, I have no reason for optimism.
No, zero.
Great. Awesome. Hooray. Hooray for pessimism.
Yeah. I'm here to fucking burst all bubbles.
Thanks a lot, Josh. You suck.
There's a lot of claims going on, and I think that Curtis kind of enforces these, or kind of gets behind him, saying that Curtis is teaching Thiel, or grooming Thiel for whatever. But I think it's the exact opposite.
Okay.
I think Thiel has found his philosopher monkey,
right.
and he's letting him lay the groundwork, and it's not good. And then the stuff that he talks about, like, I mean, do you know about neo-reactionary or dark enlightenment or any of that?
I'm
shit?
sure I don't.
Okay, so it's like,
you can get into it. You do the research. Let's hear it.
So it's basically a movement. Okay, and one of the things that pisses me off the most, it's these little fucking things that piss me off super bad, is that they abbreviate it NRX. They fucking love throwing an X into an abbreviation.
You mean because of Musk, or what do you mean?
Just these assholes. They just fucking love doing it. I mean, I think it was probably even before Musk and his X
X
bullshit.
is the shape of a cross if you turn it 45 degrees the right way.
I mean, I don't think that's it, though. I mean, these aren't I don't think
So it's porn. I mean, what is it about X that's so excited about it?
Well, for Musk, it's porn.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's fucking edgy 69 420 shit, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just stupid. He's always had a thing for it. I mean, that's what he wanted to call PayPal was X. I mean, he tried to get the fucking.
Yeah, he's been trying to craft that for years.
Yeah. And then SpaceX, and the fucking Tesla S.
Yeah, sounds like our former boss. Obsessed with one thing, like it's going to make a big difference for everything else. So.
It's so fucking dumb. Anyway, so the neo-reactionary movement rejects the whole concept that history shows an inevitable progression towards liberty and enlightenment. So they are fighting the entire Enlightenment, and that's why they call it the Dark Enlightenment as well.
So Martin Luther King famously said,
right?
The arc of justice is slow, but the arc of the moral universe is slow, and it bends towards justice.
Yeah.
So he would argue the opposite, that it's going to take way longer than we want it to, but goodness will maybe eventually prevail, but they're saying it's not going to.
Well, Martin Luther King was a product and a shining example of the Enlightenment.
Right.
So that, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And these guys are the exact fucking opposite.
The Enlightenment's over. It's time for
Daddy to come home
and crack the whip.
Yeah.
Oh, goody.
Brain damage fucking daddy issues. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So like the whole idea of a liberal democracy is that it's failed for them. And what they want, I guess they call it a monarchy, but it's really kind of a disingenuous way of saying they want a fucking dictator, a benevolent dictator.
So to them, monarchy sounds better than dictator.
Yes, because
so that's their whitewashed version of their agenda.
That's all baggaged with dictator and all that stuff.
Right.
And so that's really kind of the initial play, right? Is to turn the entire United States into a dictatorship under a strongman.
Sure.
But the end game is to completely dismantle the government and set it up so that there are individual kingdoms. They say kingdoms, but basically it's independent corporations that they're corporation city states.
Yeah. But dismantle the systems of government and essentially replace, let's say, hundreds of dedicated workers.
No. Privatize everything.
Oh, so privatize the FBI.
No, that just goes away because there's no longer a city. There's no longer a state.
So
right?
we know that private healthcare is ruining healthcare in this country.
This is beyond all that.
But I'm saying privatization is never good for the people.
No.
It's always good for corporations.
But this is beyond all that.
Right.
Right. The initial step is to get in as a dictator and sell off the commons to the rich people, and then eventually completely dismantle the state so that there is no state left, and that you come down to having independent city states throughout the country.
Right.
Right. They don't cooperate in any way. There's no.
Does that mean California gets to secede?
Well, I mean, at that point, it would be run by Musk or Thiel or something like that. That's the idea behind it, right? I mean, because it's beyond all that. There's no longer a California.
Sure.
There's a San Francisco city, corporation. There's a fucking Sacramento corporation, and all these things.
So inevitably, that means the poor and the middle class it'll even be worse for them.
Well, slaves. I mean, yeah. And what they say is that because there's no voting anymore, right? They give some kind of fucking bullshit kind of lip service to ideas of there being a democracy for the leaders of these city states. But ultimately, they don't give a fuck about any of that.
It's fascism.
It's fascism on a crazy scale.
Yeah.
And the idea, so they try and soften the blow by saying, so if you don't like the corporation that you live in, right? If you don't like wherever it is you live, then you can just leave, right? That's their idea of voting. So places that treat their citizens, slaves, well, people will go to. But that's just bullshit, right?
So if there is a major difference between them and East Germany in post World War II, it's that if you don't like, you can actually leave.
Right. That's the lip service they give to it because ultimately, how the fuck do you leave? I mean, in that point, you're living in a feudal world. And if you don't have a state, you are the fucking food, right? You can't live exile. Exile used to be a thing because you'd fucking die.
Sure.
And now, with a liberal society, you take care of your people, all that stuff. Right. Anyway, so that's the whole concept. The whole idea is to dismantle the government, break it down into city states, and let the corporations run things.
Sounds like fun.
We're
doing how many episodes of this?
I know this is just the beginning. This guy isn't even the worst, right?
Yeah.
He's somebody who you can't really take this guy very seriously, because he's just so disingenuous in the way that he presents these ideas. And when you hear him talking to people that all these assholes have this really poor understanding of the Lord of the Rings and shit like that. Like they don't understand that Sauron's the bad guy. You're fucking Peter Thiel calling his goddamn company Palantir. Right? Is the all-knowing... what? Are you fucking kidding
this is
me?
like right-wing assholes watching Succession.
Right.
Understanding that family is evil and the bad guys,
They're bad
but they're
guys,
identifying
yeah.
with everything they're doing.
Yeah.
So
It's just amazing to me. But anyway, if you hear like Curtis talking to like people that have kind of like similar, bent, they support his kind of idea and they're treating his ideas seriously. He will go on and start talking about the dark elves and the hobbits.
What?
So like the dark elves. So, I mean, they always talk.
These are nerd boy incels too.
Hella, dude. Hella incels. Hella nerd incels.
Wow.
And they like when he's talking about this stuff and he's talking to these crackers like seriously, right? He's like, you hobbits, right? are going to have to listen to us dark elves because we're going to be running things.
Oh, fuck.
As a hobbit, you'll do the work and we'll treat you right. We'll pet you on the head and give you a fucking bone every once in a while. But the dark elves are the ones that actually have the power. And I don't understand how anybody takes that seriously when they also say things like, we need to get rid of the elites, right? You're creating a whole new elite class.
Yes, of course.
Fucking insane making.
I mean, that's kind of the trajectory of communist Russia, right? Because I mean, that was meant to be a workers' revolution.
Yeah.
That ended up having this massive Politburo, or at least massive upper class that completely just punished and murdered the lower classes, the middle classes.
Well, right. I mean, in the same breath as holding up the proletariat, fucking killing them and not, making horrible decisions based on bad science. I mean,
and they had no regard at all for the proletariat.
They didn't give a fuck.
Karl Marx was talking about, he who controls the means of production. He's talking about an egalitarian society where rich people aren't punishing and enslaving the poor. Right.
Well, I mean, I think the problem came around with the language revolving around the dictatorship of the proletariat, because that's a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
I went to a commie meeting. I always went to a couple of commie meetings back in like the 90s.
Were you blacklisted?
2000. No.
Yeah.
Blacklist.
And you were going to say about the communist meeting?
So I went in there and they were giving their speech. It was interminable, but I went anyway, just to check it out.
Yeah.
But then they were talking about the dictatorship of the proletariat. I'm like, wait a minute. How does that work? And so I went up to the guy after the fucking meeting. I'm like,
could you explain?
What does this mean?
Yeah.
He's all, well, the proletariat needs to, call the shots and basically you have to have a dictatorship of the proletariat. I'm like, but isn't that anathema to like the whole idea of communism? He's all, well, it's just something that needs to be done. I'm like, out. Later.
Yeah.
These people don't understand. Like, I mean, like, and that's how you get people like fucking Stalin. I am the proletariat.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the funny thing is, like, I always say, we were all on and on about religion, but really we're talking about groups of people. And the larger groups of people get, the worse they are. It's, it's almost inevitable that, like, if you got a small group of 10 or 5, that's awesome. The more people you add to that, the more shitty and insane thought that gets in there. Yeah. And it's kind of just same as religion, where it's like it gets worse and worse and worse and distorts what the original intent was.
And if you start out with a bunch of people that have an interesting idea of how to do something or whatever, then there is a certain amount of consensus that you can work with. But once you get above a certain point, then it becomes an oligarchy. And I will say that the one thing that Curtis Yarvin said that I completely agree with, and I never really kind of put it in this way before in my own mind, is that America has always been an oligarchy, and now it's becoming a kleptocracy, right? An autocratic kleptocracy.
What's a kleptocracy?
A kleptocracy is just the government by people that are stealing everything. It's so an autocracy.
Oh, not kleptomania. You're actually klept being the root.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, these oligarchs. It's always been an oligarchy because if you look at it, like, it was never for all people.
No,
not all people were making decisions. There was no consensus.
I mean, the whole founding of the country was freedom and rights for white men, not women, not slaves.
Right.
Yeah.
Only so many people got votes, and then you get that continued after the Civil War because of the fucking the bullshit that they fucking went with on the deal with the South to get them to come back. So you get things like don't get me started. It's fucking insane making. But the Electoral College is all about that. It's like all
meant to take power from the people.
Meant to consolidate power in the hands of a few. And that is an oligarchy. And I fully believe that we have been and always will be an oligarchy on some level or another.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it was more hidden. I think
Yeah.
I mean, when we were kids, we didn't talk about this. Or,
No.
I don't mean no one talked about it, but I mean, this is these kind of revelations about, once we kind of learn the true racist nature of this country, it all starts to fall into place. Like, oh, we've been lied to about a lot of things.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not perfect, obviously. But I believe that in the Enlightenment thought, it's trying to be better usually. Although I think that's...
You're saying it at least has a noble goal, or at least had a noble goal.
It had a noble goal,
Right.
and I think that that's out the fucking window now.
Sure.
I don't know how we come back from it. But anyway, so Curtis laying down this philosophy. One of the other parts of this, and I don't know how much of this Curtis believes in, but other people in the neo-reactionary movement believe in accelerationism. And essentially, accelerationism in this context is the idea that the quicker we bring down, so there's different kinds of accelerationism,
Sure.
right? So there's the fucking white power Nazi accelerationism, which is like destroy the government, kill everything, bring it down so we can build it all back up. But for them, it's still human focused. For these techno accelerationists, their whole concept is to bring about the death of humanity so that the next thing can come in. And that's why you have all these tech bros developing AI, looking towards the singularity, all this shit, right? So it gets fucking really ugly.
Oh my Lord.
It gets really ugly.
Yeah.
So their whole concept, and this is a Nick Land thing, and I keep bringing him up. I'll probably try and do something about him, although I think that he's a much more serious person than Yarvin. His idea is that he wants to this is insane.
Yeah.
Right.
More insane than the things you already said?
Just dig this, dude. His concept is that he wants to maximize capitalism because by doing that, you will simultaneously bring about the end of humanity, and because capitalism functions in a technological world right now, you will also develop AI singularity, which will end up taking over the world from the humans.
And forget about evil or good. These people realize they're humans too, right?
They don't give a fuck because all these people think that this with the singularity, they will be brought into the technological future.
This is
because
verging into science fiction. This is such nonsense.
It's absolutely. This is a sci-fi fucking techno ketamine fucking fever dream. Like everything that these people are talking about is absolute insanity. And they have enough money to put it on the map. Right? I mean, these guys are worth like $1 trillion, trillions of dollars.
So this is why one of the reasons Musk is developing his spaceships.
Absolutely.
Because quite frankly,
no,
he's going to want to escape at a certain point. And if he doesn't, his children will. Like, I mean, that's what we're leading to here.
No, well,
right?
and not
Get
only
me the fuck out of this place that we're destroying.
Well, no, not only that though, because what he's actually, I mean, if you look at you look at SpaceX and you look at Neuralink, right? That's the interface between man and machine.
Right.
That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to bring about a singularity where people can get upgrades. People can fucking extend life. They can download their fucking brain into something.
And of course, this has military applications too. The military's been working on this stuff for a long time.
Yeah, but I don't think, like, it does have military applications, but that's not why they're doing it.
I get it.
Yeah. I mean, that is definitely like insane making. I'm sorry. I know I'm making you sad here, dude. This is
Terrified? Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's just fucking, it's insane. It's insane to me that like these people have like real fucking power.
Yeah.
And in order to bring these things about, they're using people like Curtis Yarvin to lay a philosophical foundation for them to push legal things forward.
It's insane to think it and say it. It's even more insane to try to actually make this policy. Right? I mean, it's absolutely nuts to say these things out loud.
Right.
If you're on a street corner covered in dog shit.
Yeah, right.
if you're actually got a lot of money, you can actually make this happen.
These
it's
guys,
unbelievable.
I mean, truly, the four of these fuckers have over $1 trillion fucking dollars. You know, Thiel, Sachs. I mean, or, you know, Thiel, Sachs, Andreessen, Bezos, and Zucker.
They're good guys.
Yeah.
I just love it as an aside that the United States is basically about to shut down TikTok, right? So supposedly TikTok is going to get killed. Meanwhile, we have Facebook and these other social media networks that are ruining this country, right? That are helping the rise of fascism. Oh, but let's make sure TikTok isn't a thing. Like, don't pretend that they have any regard for people and their security.
Well, and I mean, the thing about TikTok I absolutely agree. If you're going to shut down one, shut them all down. In fact, I think that they should just shut down the internet. Fuck the internet. It's a pile of shit now.
As much as I've always touted the internet as a place of learning, it is obviously the hub of evil. It really is.
It used to be fun. It used to be a thing. And I don't know if we've done this on the show before, but like the internet hasn't been cool for 12, 15 years.
You know, it's still a place to access facts. I like that.
I mean,
but as far as the spread of this insanity, it's because of the internet.
Yeah, but I mean, even now, like, how do you know what's true?
Yeah, no, I get it.
Like, I was on Reddit the other day, and I'm done with Reddit now. I'm fucking off it because they were posting. I mean, they were basically everybody on Reddit was like, "Fuck X, we're banning links." Nothing, you know, fuck all that shit.
Yeah,
started talking shit about Musk. They started censoring it. They started pulling shit down.
Reddit did.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so like now you can't like, I mean, where in the mainstream media, and I hate to say that I hate to say that, but where in the media do you see the hundreds of thousands, the millions of people around the world turning out to protest what's going on in the United States? You don't.
They don't know or they don't care.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, well, if people knew, they would care. But they're blocking that shit.
So that's the thing. People obsess over conspiracy theories that aren't real. Meanwhile, the government is actually doing things that are horrible, and you should be frightened of.
And this isn't even the government doing it, dude. This is the fucking private citizens.
The things that people obsess over. 9/11 was an inside job.
Sure.
Not true. It's not remotely true. It just isn't. But so the things they obsess of aren't real.
Right.
The things they don't know about are way, way worse.
Way more important, way more impactful.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, who gives a fuck if jet fuel can or can't melt steel beams, right? But you want to start talking some shit about the richest man in the world fucking taking over the government, we'll ban you. You know? Right. It's like this shit that these motherfuckers are putting together is coming around.
Agree.
And it's not good.
Yeah.
And Curtis is kind of like, he's kind of an idiot, but he says all the things that people want to hear.
Sure.
And I do believe like sitting around and talking to him would be entertaining.
The way that talking to a smart born-again Christian would be entertaining, right? You could have a philosophical conversation, maybe.
Well, I don't know. See, that would be the trick, is actually getting him to fucking commit to having a conversation and not sitting there trying to fucking lecture you and ask you if you've read a book.
Or circumvent the question.
Right.
Navigate around your question.
Yeah, because I mean, the only people that he's really honest with are the people that agree with him on some level, and he's really fucking dismissive and pedantic to him. It's ridiculous.
Sure.
So that's my boy.
Good job, Josh.
That's Curtis fucking Yarvin.
Yeah.
Got any questions on him?
Maybe we'll get a large enough audience where we get censored. We'll see. Probably not, but we'll be here. We'll be here reporting the facts to you, unlike a lot of the internet, which is sullied by nonsense and
rich
subterfuge. So, yeah.
Got any?
I do. I got one little thing here.
Yeah.
A little quote to the end of the day. It'll just be a moment here. So the wife sent me this quote. This is great. One of these things that just in one sentence is devastating. Kafka said, "I am not well. I could have built the pyramids with the effort it takes me to cling on to life and reason."
I feel you, brother.
The enormous struggle that people go through just internally, like forget about your job sucks or you're in an abusive relationship. I mean, so many things that go into what makes a human, but like the enormity of the task that people have just to get through their day.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, you feel that fucking, especially now with the way things are and all the shit flooding the zone.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, we were talking about mindfulness, and I mean, you really do have to try to concentrate on things you love, the music, the films that you love. Like, find a way to take shelter from the awfulness.
Yeah.
And that's Vitruvian Man. Maybe. All right, toast to bad dads.
Bad dads and all they taught us. Well, fuck, I don't know about like these motherfuckers and their daddy issues. I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's season 3. Yeah. These motherfuckers and their daddy issues. All right, bro.
All right, man. Rock on.
Take care.
Next time. You have been listening to Vitruvian Man. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can either call us at 415-484-8841 or send us an email at vitruvianpod@gmail.com.